Have you been told it just takes time? It just takes time to build a business. You need to be more patient. Well, if you are as impatient as I am, then those words really grate on us. And even if you're not impatient, sometimes you're like, yes, I'm waiting, but what am I exactly waiting for? And how will I know when I am finished waiting? So here's the deal. I had a mentor who told me this wealth has a need for speed. And the same is true in our business. We can see opportunities pass us by while we think that we should be waiting. But we also know that there is sometimes this little thing we do where we do something that's actually going to work, but we just don't give it enough time to work itself all the way out. So if this feels like a confusing topic for you, then this video is for you. In case you're meeting for the very first time, my name is April Bragg. I am the Time Rich Woman Coach, and I help overextended entrepreneurs um, find the one move that will move their business forward, achieve real growth without adding more to your plate. And by the way, these principles are timeless. So even if you don't have a business, listen for what applies, listen for your one aha moment. And I decided to do this live so that you can drop any questions in the chat and so that we can make this as helpful and interactive as possible. So I can't wait to hear from you. But you think that you need more time when really what you need is a better question. And I'm going to explain what that question is in just a second. So, seriously, there are parts of our business that take time. Building skills takes time. Building trust with our clients takes time. Building a strong reputation takes time. My husband, he started a couple of different businesses. He sold his business. We moved to Tampa for 2 years. When we came back, he started a third business and within weeks was completely booked. Why was that? Why did it go so quickly for him on this third time? It's because he had built a reputation and trust, and he already had the skills. So it takes time would not have applied to him this third time like it would have applied to him the first time. So we businesses do not usually become wildly profitable in 6 weeks or less. His did. His third business did. But it's because he had the other pieces in place. And so that's why I say waiting is not a strategy. And if we don't know what we're waiting for, then waiting might actually be what I say in air quotes, wasted time. Because truthfully, there is a scenario, there is a case where no time is actually ever wasted if we know how to look at it, how to look at time in the proper perspective. That's another topic for another day. Okay, but let's stick it to this. So you've been told it takes time. So it just takes time to get clients. It takes time to become profitable. Not true. It takes time to grow. And sometimes that's true. And sometimes that's just passive waiting, hoping growth will happen to you passively. I call it the evolutionary approach to business, hoping that the business will just evolve on its own. But we change and we get better because of constraints. And one of the very, very best constraints that we can apply to our life is the constraint of a better question. So the next time that somebody's telling you it just takes time, or maybe the next time that you're trying to tell yourself it just takes time, use that as a key to ask yourself one better question. And here's the better question. You ready for it? What one thing is stopping my business from real growth right now? All right, so here's the deal. False diagnosis is it just takes time. Let's think about this in a garden scenario. It takes time to grow flowers, right? You can grow them by seeds. You can put them in the ground uh, and wait for them to sprout up. And the more that you dig them up and disturb them, then the harder it's going to be for them to grow. The fewer of them that are actually going to grow, in fact. If you are impatient like me, if you're going to garden, you can buy flowers in different sizes. So you can buy, little seedlings. My grandfather had his own business. It was a greenhouse. He serviced all of my hometown. And it was fascinating. Multiple greenhouses. Loved to walk through those greenhouses and see all the plants in different stages. And some of them he started in January as little seedlings for a purpose. Not so that he could keep all the flowers, but he could sell those flowers to people as spring rolled around with a head start. So, this in business looks like when you find a warm referral source or a warm client acquisition source. You're buying plants that are already started to sprout. This is the difference also when in speed of business that people do not understand, like online versus offline. Online, when we're trying to build trust, we are competing with so many different people's attention that it's a little bit harder. It's like trying to find good seeds in the wild. When we are making connections offline, we are transferring reputational trust with each other. And so that's why sometimes offline can be faster, even if it's not quite as scalable. And online might take more time but also might be more scalable. That's just a freebie. Keep that in the back of your head, okay? So it does take time, but time is not being very useful if we are not working on the real constraint, what actually is stopping the growth. So, again, if you're looking at your garden, you're like, what is stopping the growth? I planted those seeds. And it might be that those seeds are not even there. A bird came and snatched them away, or deer came and ate, your harvest before you got a chance to get to it. You might need a fence to guard your work. So you could be sitting there waiting for 10 years, for something that should have sprouted in 2 or 3 weeks, but somebody has already taken it. It's gone. So sometimes we're planting seeds that other people are benefiting from, harvesting from. We're saying, hey, and that's because maybe we're uncomfortable with selling or we don't have a clear enough offer yet. So there's many, many things that it doesn't take time for. We should, what am I trying to say here? We should have complete confidence that what we're waiting on actually takes time, even if we don't know how much time it takes. So we can cast a theory about it. Say, I think it'll take me 6 weeks to get my first client. I think it'll take me 3 months to get this membership off the ground. I think it'll take me 2 months to get a this lawn care business going. For example, when my husband was, using entrepreneurship to provide for his family, I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. Our kids were really, really young, and he had a theory that people would pay for lawn care services. But before he went and bought all the equipment on that theory, he called all the people he knew and said, hey, if I offered this, would you be interested in having me mow your grass? He didn't assume that people didn't want to mow their own grass. Okay, so he could have done it this way. He could have taken out loans, bought all the equipment, and then when spring rolled around, when the grass started to grow, then start knocking on people's doors saying, hey, do you want your grass mowed? But he's the impatient type too. He did not wait for that. He looked for how can we speed up the timeline? And so what he did was before he bought the equipment, he went out and found out is there demand yet? And he did it counterintuitively. He did it during the winter when there's no demand for grass to be cut at all. So some people are not even feeling the urgency, but some people are. And when he got enough yeses to justify buying the equipment, he bought it. And then funny thing comes out. More people when spring rolls around, even more people want you to mow your grass because, it sounds like, "No, no, no, I'll do it," and then you come to spring and you're like, "Oh my gosh, there's so much better things to do with my time than to mow my grass." Okay, so if every time you hear the phrase, "It just takes time," you will force yourself to ask the question, instead of focusing on waiting, what exactly is constraining my business growth right now? What information do I need to know? What piece is not in place? What is one of the simplest questions at the very, very beginning is to ask, what is stopping me from making money today? Stay on that question until it's answered. Now, that will not be the question that you want to ask. In fact, I teach there are 5 different terms of our life and of our business, and one of those is always the constraint. So, it might be a time, it might be an energy, it might be a relationship constraint, it might be a money, like a cash flow constraint, or it might be sometimes a, definition of success. Like we've got our ladder up the completely wrong wall. We're being successful, but it's not feeding our soul, or it's coming at too high of a cost. So, but that's big picture. Just ask this one question. Assume the growth is happening in your business and ask the question, what is stopping my business from growth? Okay, so let's talk about, one second here. Oh, hey, somebody said hey to me, but my poor glasses are not strong enough. My eyes are not strong enough to see. Hey, Lori. All right. So let's talk about 3 common constraints in a business. One reason your business might not be growing is people don't know about it. This is the one you want to solve for the first. Do people even know that I have a business? How many people know that I have a business? How many people that need my service know that I have a business? Uh, Take my business, for example. So I've got a membership for entrepreneurs to find out the one thing that is stopping their business from growth, and then how to achieve real growth without adding more to their plate. And so we focus on that week by week by week. And we just keep on removing the constraint and moving forward, removing the constraint. We develop delicious, expansive focus. We stay on the one thing so that we're not overwhelmed. But what good does it do me if I only ever talk about my offer, my business to people who aren't entrepreneurs? Now, it does a little bit of good. Like, for example, people who aren't entrepreneurs, who aren't small business owners might recommend me. But if I am saying, yeah, a lot of people know, but it's like only the people at church know, or only my family members know. I've got a lot of family members. Um, that is not nearly as powerful as me telling the people that ought to know about my service. Okay. So big constraint number 1 on business owners is people just flat out don't know. By the way, this is the one mistake that people make when they are trying to build the business online is they don't realize how there are literally a billion people online. But that does not mean that when you post something, a billion people see that. I remember when I started getting onto the online space and making this error that I thought everybody saw my stuff. Get this, you guys. When I post something on Facebook, my mom, who loves my stuff, does not even see my stuff. She says, I don't actually get any of your posts unless you're coming to visit me. And then while you're visiting me, while you're in town, I get all of your posts. And then when you're out of town, I get none of your posts. We don't have control over the algorithm. We have to learn how to use it as a tool, see it as a constraint, see it as something to solve for, but we don't get to control it. Okay. So ask yourself this question: do people even know? Because if they don't, that is a marketing constraint. That's not a pricing constraint. That is not a delivery constraint. That is a marketing constraint. And then the second top common constraint I see in businesses, I told you there was three. The second one is people don't buy. They know about it, but they're not compelled to buy. They either don't feel the urgency of it in their life right now, or they don't understand how it's going to solve their need right now. Or three, they just don't value it for the price that you're selling it for. It doesn't mean that the price you're selling it for is the wrong price. Some people are incredibly heavy DIYers. I used to be this way. I'm still this way in some areas. I mean, there is a pleasure where I enjoy figuring things out on my own. But there are other times when I'm like, listen, my time is worth so much more than my money. My energy is worth so much more than my money. If I can trade a little bit of money to save a little bit of time or a lot of time, I will take that trade any day. Can I pay for this result? That is an abundance mindset that I have intentionally developed in my life. And by the way, if you're an entrepreneur, oh, get started on this right away, developing this. But if you are not um, an abundance, but if you're not an abundance minded, you're missing out, number one. But secondly, this is actually a rarity in the world. Not everybody is like this. So many people are so price conscious. Let me give you an example of a price conscious person. There's this restaurant that my husband and I go to frequently on Friday night. We have date night every single Friday night. This restaurant is in a country club. It overlooks a lake. Gorgeous. Delicious food. Everybody's looks nice. It's such a beautiful setting, so serene. Love it. Love this place. And we sit at the same table if we can get it, and we make reservations, and then our sweet little waitress comes to us, and she says to us every single week, "Do you wanna hear the specials?" And I'm like, "Yes, I wanna hear the specials. Tell me the specials. Sell me on how amazing the specials are." And this is how she sells the specials. So our appetizer of the night is $10. And what it is, and then she tells me what it is. And then she says, and the entree of the night is $20. And then she tells me what it is. Listen, that is not how you sell. What I want to be sold on is how wonderful the appetizer is. It is mm, crab cakes with a sauce that, is the chef's specialty. Everybody loves it. I can't sell food. I can eat food. And it's only $10. If you're gonna say the price at all. I'm gonna argue that sometimes you don't even need to give the price unless the person asks how much it is. How much is that? But because I'm not here to how affordably can I feed my husband and myself? No, no, no. We're here for an experience, and we've already set aside an experience. We've already chosen this restaurant because it's already within our budgetary constraints. So I would argue the price is not even relevant in this conversation. But if it is not the primary detail. So constraint number one in your business is people don't know about the offer that you're giving them. Constraint number two, people don't buy because you're either not selling it clearly enough, they don't know how to buy, they don't value it compared to their time and energy and life needs or budgetary things. That doesn't mean your price is wrong. They may still be thinking about it. They may need time to warm up about it. They don't know how great it is. They don't buy until there's a fear of missing out, whatever. One of those things. The third constraint on your business, this is the one that takes a while to get to, but when you hit it, it can take your business fast. And if you're not aware of it, then you can go under before you're even aware of what happened, okay? The third constraint on businesses is the business cannot sustain what it sells. As in, imagine you're a car salesman. You're selling brand new Cadillacs for $10. Now, maybe you can do one as a promotional, to get people in, but you can't keep on doing that. Eventually, everybody's money runs out, even Elon Musk's. It is not a sustainable business model. So is the business model that requires, like maybe it requires 10 hours of your energy, but you only have so many hour units to sell and you're charging too little for that to be an endurable price point. Um, the business can't sustain what it sells. My husband does remodels. So if he's only charging for the cost of the materials, he's never charging for his labor, then it can't sustain what it sells. If he hires somebody and he only charges the customer for the exact cost of that person's labor, it cannot sustain what it sells. Why? Because there is taxes on the back end and there's overhead on the back end. And then there is what I call margin, the stuff that just always does happen. For example, 9 out of 10 times, jobs go amazing, but there is a little bit of waste inherent in anything. There's a little bit of friction, there's a little bit of loss. If you're watering your flowers, there's a little bit of water loss. This is actually goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden, that there's a little bit of loss. When God gave us the mandate to be fruitful and multiply, replenish, and subdue, the replenish and subdue is saying that there is always a using up that has to be replaced. So your business might have margins that are too tight for sustainability and definitely too tight for growth. Okay. So, constraint number one, people just don't know. Constraint number two, people just aren't buying, even though they do know. And constraint number three, you can't keep on selling it like this. It's too costly in a money way, in an energy way, in an attention way. Um, it's too costly to your family. That used to be my husband's thing. He's so generous with his time, but it was getting to the point where it's like, babe, you're like other people are getting your attention more than your children are. We've got to rework this so that you have energy and bandwidth for your family. By the way, I use my husband a lot as an example, because most of what I've learned about entrepreneurship was being married to an entrepreneur for 20 years before I became one myself. And I also want to point out this. Lest you think that I'm smarter than my husband, I absolutely am not. I'm just smart enough to learn from mistakes, the mistakes that I make and the mistakes that he makes. And by the way, he's smart enough to learn from his mistakes. I always say he learns faster in just the doing of it. He does it, makes a mistake, and learns from it faster while I'm still researching the problem. So, anyway, it takes all types. But so we've got a marketing constraint, we have selling constraints, we have delivery constraints. There are other constraints, no doubt, but these are the three big ones that you want to be watching out for. So now let's talk about what's the one move that you can make this week that will make a difference in your business or your life. It's asking the question, what is the real constraint stopping my business from growing right now? If you'll approach it from this angle and see what this question does is it assumes that something is stopping you from growth. Like there is growth that is ready to happen, or there is growth that is actually happening. And I either cannot see it, or I'm trying to think, is there, no, it assumes that growth is always happening and I just can't see it. This principle right here is huge. Another lesson I learned from a mentor: all work works. This is why waiting is not a strategy. The work that we're doing, so there's always a work that we can be doing. And the work that we're doing is either working on us or working for us, as in it's making us into the person that we need to be to do the work. Or, and so that's like skill development or mindset development, like replacing your scarcity mindset with your abundance mindset so that you do pricing better. Um, or secondly, it's working for us, as in we're putting work in ahead of time that's going to make it easier on the back end. That's planting seeds so that we can reap a harvest. So when we understand that all work works, then our work of the moment, I'm using the word work a lot, is to say, what's stopping the growth that's happening? So, what do I need to get better at right now? What one thing would create better growth this week? Now, notice, listen, this is important. If you are a perfectionist mindset person like me, avoid the question of what's the best thing? What's the best move? What's the best thing to do here? Because we honestly don't know the answer to that. Almost never do we know the answer. But what's one thing? Like, what's one thing that I can see right now to do? Okay. Or what's a better thing than what I'm trying to do right now? So, what's stopping the growth? When you look for what's stopping the growth, so, say nobody's buying. What's stopping people from buying? Oh, I don't even have a clear offer. Or, oh, I don't even have a link where they can buy. Or, oh, I haven't told anybody about it yet or recently. I'm not even sure if they're seeing it. You see how when we can get so granular? Okay, so this is something you can do on your own, but I have something special for you, okay? If you don't want to do it on your own and you are impatient and you want to get to the real constraint, I am doing tomorrow a time rich business reset. And if you'll go to aprilbragg.com/reset, then I will help you find the actual constraint in your business so that you can find the one move you need to make to achieve real growth this week without adding more to your plate. Because I'm sure you're already busy. So, but if you're able to carve out that 1 hour of time, then my goal, my promise to you is to make it worth your hour. Like you'll find the one move that will help you get growing again. So aprilbragg.com/reset. I'll put the description in the link and in the comments. If you are not listening to this live, if you're listening to this replay, then still click on the link because I will probably have a future one coming up that you can get into. But for you who are impatient, you don't have to wait. All right. Any questions in the chat? Any questions that are coming up as you're hearing this? And any aha moments that you took from this? If you'll put those in the chat, well, it'll do two things. One, it'll help my video be found. Thank you so very, very, very much for taking the time to do that. That it means very much a lot to me. Secondly, it will help, it cement a lesson for you. Like sometimes I say a lot of things and can be very overwhelming. But if you'll learn this of like just what's one thought that stood out to me that I can practice? Then type it. And then you'll be able to go back and refer to that. And then thirdly, it'll probably help somebody else. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's a great thought." Okay. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any final reminders? If not, oh, listen, you guys, I should have told you. I'm trying to remember what the next week's video is. It is, oh, it's about how posting is not a plan and what to do instead, what a better plan to have instead of just posting randomly. Um, But hear me when I say this. I'm also not saying that's not important, but I promise to keep these at 30 minutes or less. We're right at the 30-minute mark. I am going to let you go. I hope to see you next Wednesday at 11 a.m. And until then, I hope to see you tomorrow at the Time Rich Business Reset. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. All right. Talk to you later. Bye bye.